Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this a single moment in time where everything, the past, the present, and even the future, seem to align at one sacred point, not by chance, but as the result of hundreds of cosmic cycles and ancient promises the universe carved into the axis of time. If you're an Aries, a soul born from fire, from the very first spark of life itself, then that moment is the year 2025, not just another year, but the year of awakening, of elevation, of soul-level harvest. And no, not everyone will recognize it. Only those sensitive enough to feel the invisible current shifting within. Only those who have walked through fire, stood in the headwind, and still chose to move forward. 2025, according to prophecy said to be inspired by Nostradamus, is not just another cycle. It's a gateway, a final trial by fire. And if you pass through it, you won't return the same, you'll rise as the most radiant version your soul ever dreamed you could become. So now, take a breath and ask yourself this. Are you ready to step into the promise destiny wrote just for you? Do you remember the last time you felt truly called, not by someone, but by something deeper? A quiet stirring from within, like the beat of a drum echoing through the silence of night. A sound only a soul that's been broken and reborn could ever recognize. Aries, this is how 2025 begins for you. No loud noise, no dazzling lights, just a strange vibration in your chest, a shapeless longing, a whisper carrying the warmth of something great returning. The ancients once said, El fuego de Marte levantará al Aries. The fire of Mars will awaken the soul of Aries. Not rebellion, not revolution, but an awakening, a sudden burst of clarity that floods your awareness. The realization that you were never weak, that the cracks life left behind were never meant to break you but to let the light in. From January through April, life will begin sending you mirrors, in a stranger's glance, in a child's question, in a dream soaked in midnight rain. And then, without warning, you'll understand that it's time to finally open your eyes, not just the ones on your face, but the one in your soul, because deep down, Aries, you've always known, you've always felt that somewhere out there, a light has been waiting for you to walk toward it. Maybe you hesitated, maybe you forgot just how strong your fire once burned. And now, 2025 returns like an old friend, placing a hand on your shoulder and gently saying, it's time. The first truth won't come from the outside, it'll rise from within, a knowing so powerful you won't be able to turn away. It's the answer to all the years you asked, who am I in the middle of all this chaos? And that answer won't be words, it'll be a feeling, an acceptance, soft wave spreading from your chest. The moment you stop blaming yourself, the moment you look back on your path, not with regret but with reverence, that's where true change begins. Because only when you're willing to see yourself clearly can the universe place the key in your hand, the very key you've been searching for, out there. This is the season of returning to yourself. No one else can wake you up, Aries, only you. No one else can walk through that door, only you. And when you do, you won't just change your life, you'll ignite a part of the world. The world needs more awakened souls, Aries, and you've always been the one to go first. One day you'll look back at this very moment and smile, because you'll know this was the place where all the miracles began, where the fire of Mars inside you no longer hid beneath ashes but rose like the sun over a land that had been sleeping for far too long. And when that light begins to spread, it will reach something you've longed for your entire life, something that once felt out of reach but was never truly far. It was always standing at the door, just waiting for you to step forward. Do you feel it? Like the light is beginning to shift, not in the sky above but in your own eyes. Since May, a quiet but powerful movement has been unfolding within you. This time it feels different. It's not about surviving, not about trying to be seen. It's more like a natural blooming, like a flower opening at dawn, needing no reason, needing no audience. Aries, this is the moment you become the flame no one can ignore, not because you're trying to impress, but because your energy reaches others before you even step into the room. There's something new in your atmosphere, something undeniable. People feel it. The moment you arrive, you don't need loud colors to be seen. You don't need to shout to be powerful. You don't need to prove anything to be magnetic. In this phase, you're no longer chasing opportunity. Opportunity begins to find you. Doors that once stayed closed, that made you question your own worth, now begin to open. as if they were always waiting. Connections that went quiet start to reach out again. Dreams you once paused gently rise back up, urgent but soft. Love, money, recognition, they all begin to expand in harmony with the frequency you now radiate. It's no longer, I need. It's, I deserve. It's no longer about doing everything to be chosen, but living in a way that draws in what truly belongs to you. Aries, you're stepping into a phase where the universe wants to show you who you are in your fullest, truest light, not shadowed by someone else's expectations, not chained by past mistakes. You're shining now with a light that is raw, pure, and deeply inspiring. And that light is starting to awaken something in the people around you. They'll look at you and remember. They can rise too. They'll hear your voice and feel hope again, not because you say something grand, but because you live in alignment with the fire that's always been inside you. This is no longer the season of doing more. This is the season of becoming more. You're no longer just the initiator. You're the igniter, the spark at the start of a new day, the touchstone that reminds others why their soul came here in the first place. And when you begin to live like that, miracles are no longer optional. They become inevitable. A new love may arrive unannounced. A financial door may open from nowhere. A forgotten dream may come alive again, not by luck, but because you finally become the version of yourself that destiny has always been calling forth. And as this radiant energy begins to expand, as the world starts to reflect your true worth, you'll begin to understand that this journey was never just about achieving. It was about truly, fully living without half steps, without obligation, living because your soul is finally free. But no light comes without a season of planting. And before the arms can receive the harvest, we must pass through another sacred layer, a deeper one, where every seed you once planted in old chapters and quiet seasons now begins to stir. A quiet season of harvest is forming. Are you ready? There are things you once planted that no one ever saw. Nights you stayed up holding on to nothing but a fragile thread of faith. Moments when you gave your all and no one turned back to notice. Times when you stood strong, even though every part of you wanted to let go. But the universe has never missed a thing. Not the silent tears that fell in the dark, not the quiet prayers whispered when there was no one left to stay. All of it is now beginning to return to you. From September to December, the energy of harvest starts flowing your way. No noise, no fireworks, just a quiet arrival, steady, grounded, carrying a kind of sacredness you can't quite explain. Aries, you'll begin to notice the signs. Someone who once turned away comes back to say they are sorry. An opportunity you thought was lost returns in a new form. A relationship you thought was beyond saving suddenly softens. Money, work, recognition, all the things that once confused or eluded you start to fall into place. But the greatest reward won't be something you can touch. It will be something you feel. It's the peace that comes when you wake up one morning and realize you no longer have to prove anything to anyone. It's that quiet moment, alone in your familiar room, when you suddenly feel whole. Not because you've achieved it all, but because you've become someone new. Someone who no longer runs from old wounds. Someone who's not ashamed of the stumbles. Someone who no longer needs to be understood or agreed with. Because now, you understand yourself enough to no longer seek permission from the world. You've come a long way. From the ruins of broken dreams to the place where light is finally blooming again in the soil of your heart. And as harvest season draws near, you'll realize the most precious seeds you ever planted weren't your ambitions, your titles, or your wealth. They were your resilience, your faith, your ability to love yourself, even when no one else did. This is a quiet rebirth. It doesn't ask to be announced. It doesn't need to be certified. And like all beautiful things in life, it doesn't arrive when you're chasing it. It comes when you're finally ready to let go. You're no longer the warrior who pushes forward out of fear of being left behind. Now, you are a soul who knows how to rest, how to listen, how to pause, and look back on the path you've walked with a soft, silent gratitude for every scar that once split open your chest. And just when you think you've finally come to stillness, the universe begins to open an entirely new layer of energy, deeper, truer, and yes, it will ask for even more inner courage, because you're not just harvesting now, you're also being invited to release the things you thought you had already forgiven, to face the feelings you believed you had already outgrown. not to make you suffer again, but to remind you before you can soar. Your soul must become light again. And sometimes, right at the moment you feel everything is finally okay, a new door quietly opens inside your chest. Not one that leads out into the world, but one that leads you straight back home, to the very core of who you are. Some months in life pass by like water, and then there are months that leave a permanent mark on your soul. March 2025 is one of those months, not because of something flashy happening outside, but because of a powerful shift that's been waiting to awaken within you. In the invisible space the eyes can't see, Mars, your ruling planet, will meet Jupiter, the planet of expansion, wisdom, and divine luck. And when those two forces collide, an energetic gateway opens, but not for everyone, only for those who are listening and brave enough to walk through. You won't feel it through thunder or fireworks. You'll feel it in the quiet stirrings of your own heart, a dream that suddenly feels clearer, an old fear that unexpectedly returns, an unnamed longing rising gently in your chest. That's how the universe knocks, not to ask if you're ready, but to remind you, the time is now. Every decision you make this month will become the foundation for the next 3 years of your life. Not just a new job, a contract, or a beginning, but a core redirection from the deepest part of your being. You'll start to ask questions you thought you had already answered. How do I truly want to live? Who am I becoming? Am I still being honest with my dreams? And from those questions, the path begins to form, not with neon lights, but through quiet signals that only your heart can feel. A glance, a gut feeling, something small that touches you and lingers. This portal opens like a bridge between what was and what's now trying to be born. You may feel like you're standing between two timelines. On one side, the old you, tired, stretched thin, too often shrinking to fit in. On the other, a version of you that's brighter, bolder, one that has never fully lived until now. This is the moment to pause, to look straight into the mirror of your soul and ask yourself, what haven't I forgiven myself for? What do I already know I need to do but keep putting off? Because sometimes, the portal doesn't ask you to move faster. It only asks you to be more honest. And when Mars lights your fire of resolve and Jupiter opens its arms of opportunity, you are being invited not just to begin something new, but to reshape who you are. No longer the version of you just trying to survive the journey, but a soul stepping into destiny with clarity and agency. And then, when you begin to move not from fear but from insight, when you choose to show up not from pressure but from something sacred calling you forward, that's when another door starts to open, not in the sky, but through the people you meet, soul-touching relationships, fated encounters, and maybe even a reunion you never saw coming, a meeting between you and the light in someone else. Because sometimes, after you've walked through your own gate, the first thing you meet isn't a brand new world, but a familiar love wearing a brand new face. When you walk through the gateway of your own becoming, when you pass through the fire of action and will and still carry your heart whole and unburned, that's when love begins to find its way back to you. But this time, it's not love born from the ego, it's love that speaks to the soul. Aries, between April and June, something gentle yet deeply stirring will arrive in your life. A connection not loud, not rushed, but when it happens, you'll know that you're no longer wandering this world alone. Not everyone has tasted this kind of love, a love that doesn't arise from the need to be filled, but from the resonance of two souls that have broken and healed. Many times before, you'll feel it in the very first gaze, a light touch that calms your whole being, a voice that feels, somehow, familiar from a lifetime ago. It's not a wildfire, it's a quiet light that makes you want to sit down and listen just a little longer. This isn't the kind of love that overwhelms you. It's the kind that brings you home. A mirror not only reflecting what you already know about yourself, but showing you the parts you once forgot, hid away, never felt brave enough to love. And if you're already in a relationship, this is when your heart gets measured by the light of truth. There's no more room for halfway, no more silent compromise, no more pretending it's fine. You'll either rise together into a deeper, stronger, more conscious bond, or face the truth that something should have ended long ago, because faded love doesn't exist in halfway spaces. It can't live where the soul is hidden behind masks or fear. It only arrives when you're honest enough to say, "This is me, unshielded, imperfect, but real." This season isn't just a reunion, It's a sacred journey, one that asks you to shed the masks you wore for protection, the stories you've told just to survive your pain. Because if you keep loving the way you used to, you'll miss the chance to love with your soul. And when you dare to enter that love, when you choose to trust, to open, to show up raw and present, you'll find you no longer need so much from the outside. Just one look can make you believe that every storm you've weathered was leading to this moment. Sometimes, healing doesn't come from anything grand. It comes from someone looking at you for a long time and not turning away. And sometimes, what's most profound arrives the moment you stop searching, when you no longer need someone to bring you love, because you've already become it. And then, in the quiet rhythms of a heart learning how to trust again, just when you think you've tasted all the tenderness the universe has to offer, a new curtain begins to move, not of love, but of a rising force, quiet but undeniable, touching something deeper within you. A new season is forming, a cycle, challenging, yes, but also filled with enormous potential. One where you're not just learning how to open, but how to hold your own soul steady with worth, with action, with decisions no longer made from fear. Love may awaken the heart, but to stand strong in this world, the soul needs a place to root itself. And sometimes, that place is your career, the sense of material stability, the quiet knowing that all your effort is finally creating real value. From July to September, Aries, you're entering a pivotal season. No more invisible efforts, no more ideas pushed aside. There's a new wind rising within you, and this time it's not just lifting your spirit, it's igniting a bold new way you see your own worth. Maybe you once dismissed a certain gift. Maybe you were told a talent wasn't practical enough. Maybe you loved something you thought could never pay the bills, but now all those forgotten parts are beginning to speak again. And if you listen closely, you'll see it. The financial opportunity you've been searching for isn't somewhere far away. It's hidden inside what you've been ignoring all along. This chapter isn't about luck falling from the sky. It's the result of an inner shift, a complete reframe of how you think. When you stop seeing yourself as someone who works to survive and start living as someone who gets paid for living in alignment, everything begins to move. Money stops being a burden and starts to flow. A current that passes through you, carried by your own energy, your confidence, your clarity, your courage. You begin to understand. Money never hated you. It simply avoided those who didn't yet believe they were worthy. And once you begin to believe, the world responds in ways that are more than fair. So don't be surprised, Aries, if a new offer lands in your inbox, if someone invites you to collaborate, if an idea sparks while you're driving or sipping coffee alone. Those moments will come not when you try to control everything, but when you let go and still hold the faith. This is your season to break the cycle. No more living out of pure obligation. Now you live for the passion that once got buried. You don't have to do everything. Just choose one thing, the one that makes your heart light up every time you think of it. Then stay with it. Then act on it. The things you once said it's not the right time for are calling you now. And you only need to do one thing: be brave. Brave enough to say no to what no longer fits. Brave enough to step onto a stage, even if you've never stood there before. Brave enough to look yourself in the mirror and say, I deserve a good life, not because of ego, but because I've walked far enough to understand poverty is not about lacking money. It's about denying your true worth. And sometimes when you sit down quietly and look at your hands after all these months and years of trying, you realize money doesn't make you valuable, but it begins to arrive when you start living from the value that's always been within. And then, when you finally see that what's arriving isn't just a reward, but confirmation from the universe, a layer of fog begins to lift. You stop asking, how much can I make? And begin wondering, what am I here to leave behind? Because this journey isn't just about abundance. It's guiding you towards something even deeper, a place within yourself, where old knots in the heart are finally beginning to loosen. There's a moment when you find yourself standing at the center of the path you've already walked. You're no longer confused about the direction and no longer haunted by the destination. And then it hits you. You've changed. You're no longer chasing someone or something. You're no longer trying so hard to be heard. You've become someone whose presence alone invites others to listen. And that is when true success begins to take shape. From August to November, you'll step into a different field of energy. Not the blinding spotlight of a temporary win, but the soft, steady warmth of an autumn sunrise, when everything feels ripe, quiet, and deeply grounded. Aries, you've always been the igniter, the first spark, the pioneer who lights the fire. But now you're no longer moving just for yourself. You lead. Everything you touch, a project, a message, even just a glance, carries a ripple, a quiet resonance that reaches farther than you can see. It's no longer just personal success. It's influence echoing into places you never expected. You've become a living mirror of courage, not because you've never been afraid, but because you kept walking. Even when your heart was shaking, people look at you and remember how to believe in themselves. Not because you're flawless, but because you're real. Success isn't about doing more. It's about becoming crystal clear on why you're doing it. You begin to choose what truly deserves your time, your energy, your heart. Not out of pride, but from the wisdom that every step you take now is shaping a path for the souls walking behind you. You're no longer chasing light. You've become the torch, and slowly, you begin to feel something that only those who have walked through storms can truly understand. That real success isn't about being known by the world. It's about sitting quietly in your own stillness and smiling. Because you know, you're living right. You're doing what you were born to do. You no longer force yourself to fit into anyone's mold. You no longer need permission. You no longer need to run. You just stand steady and keep walking forward with a heart that knows exactly why it beats. And when everything inside you is settled into that quiet power, when the noise outside no longer shakes you, you'll start to hear something else. A deeper call, not born from ambition, not rising from ego, but from the soul's memory, where invisible strings still remain, soft, but strong enough to keep your wings from reaching their highest flight. And sometimes, you'll feel it, that in order to be truly free, you don't always need more. You just need to be brave enough to let go of something that's been anchoring you for far too long. There are things you can't see with your eyes, but you feel them on your skin, in your breath, in the middle of a strange dream on a quiet night, like a sadness that was never really yours, like a fear you don't know why you carry, like a strange loop in your relationships, where you keep binding yourself to the same old limits. Aries, from October onward, those invisible threads will begin to show themselves, not to hurt you again, but to help you see. You don't have to carry them anymore. This is when karmic patterns rise to the surface, not as a punishment, but as a doorway, a chance to pause, to let go of what no longer belongs to you. Even if you've carried it on your back for years, the eclipse happening in your very own sign isn't just another cosmic event. It's a message from the universe itself, saying it's time. Time for light to reach the darkest corners inside you. The memories you buried, the words you swallowed, the pain passed down from childhood, from bloodlines, from generations who never knew how to love the right way. And all of it will begin to rise again. Not to torture you, but to be seen, to be breathed into, to finally be set free by you. You'll start to see what's truly yours, and what's just inherited memory wearing your face. You may feel a little lonely because liberation isn't always a celebration. It's the moment you say goodbye to roles you've outgrown. It's when you stand before a mirror, no makeup, no applause, and quietly ask, who am I still living for? What pain am I still loyal to? And why am I afraid of joy? Not everyone will stay. Some relationships will crack. Some old dreams will fall away, like autumn leaves from tired branches, but let them fall, because only when your hands stop clinging to what has already died can you hold what's still alive inside you. This season doesn't ask you to understand everything, just to be brave enough to stay with the truth, to let the universe gently unravel each knot with a kind of love you've never been taught how to receive. And one day, you'll wake up breathing lighter, not because the weight is gone, but because you've stopped confusing duty with love, inheritance with rebirth. You weren't born to repeat your ancestors' pain. You were born to end that story in light. And when the final layer falls, you won't see yourself as a survivor of some great war. You'll know you've been reborn, carrying wisdom from the ashes, ready to rewrite what freedom means from your own heart. Because in the end, it's not about what you left behind. It's about who you became when you chose to let it go. And like every great journey, when the soul has emptied enough to receive, when the heart is still enough to hear its deepest call, something miraculous begins to rise, not outside, but in your eyes, that sacred meeting point where life and light finally return to bring you home. When the light within you starts to rise, the old shadows feel threatened, and that's when the final test appears, not as some dramatic event, but quiet, subtle, like a passing thought. Do I really deserve this? Have I gone too far from who I used to be? What if this is just a beautiful illusion? Aries, this is the moment your soul is tested not by the world outside, but by the parts of you that once learned to survive through fear. The parts that believed, I can't, I'm not enough, I shouldn't dream too big. But you've come so far, you've let go, you've been reborn, you've stood up, and you've shined. And now, just before you enter the next chapter, the universe is asking you one simple question. Are you ready to hold your light? Because real light, when it's given, is not just beautiful. It requires responsibility, trust, and consistency. And that's why this phase might bring emotional waves, moments where you want to give up just because the good is getting too close. And it scares you. You may feel smaller than ever, but don't mistake it. This isn't collapse, it's the old shell cracking open for good. The relationships that no longer align will start to drift. The things that once brought you joy might now feel heavy in your chest. You may feel lost, no longer fitting into who you once were and not quite landed in who you're becoming. This is the threshold, the space between your old self and the new one rising, and that's exactly why you can't turn back. Not because turning back is wrong, but because the past no longer has room for who you've become. You've expanded your heart. You've raised your frequency. You've chosen to live in alignment with your soul. There's no going back, only one more step forward to cross the final edge. What you need right now isn't more strength, it's presence. Just keep breathing, keep feeling honestly, keep not pretending, and the waves, they'll pass. Because light never disappears, it just waits for you to be steady enough to hold it fully. You don't need to explain anything to anyone. You don't need to do more to prove you're worthy. You are enough, and you've already been chosen. And when you pass through this moment, when you choose to stand in your own light even when nothing feels certain, you'll begin to see everything you once hoped for starts moving toward you, not to save you, but to walk with the person you've been brave enough to become. So let the old fall apart. Let the waves come and go. Just stay, because what's about to open is no longer part of the journey. It's the sacred meeting point where destiny and soul finally merge. And right there, the return begins. There are moments in life that don't need applause, no grand finale, just a deep breath and a quiet nod from somewhere deep inside. Aries, if you've made it here, it means you've already walked through many doors of struggle, of surrender, of awakening, of rebirth. And now you're no longer the one walking toward the light. You've become the light itself. From 2025 onward, your life won't revolve around playing a social role. You won't keep shrinking to fit into someone else's expectations. You won't keep chasing definitions of success, love, or worth that were never yours to begin with, because you've seen yourself beneath the very last layer, and what you saw wasn't someone who needed fixing, but a soul worthy of living fully even when no one is watching. Money will come, but it won't throw you off course anymore, because now you know money is simply the outer reflection of your inner value. When you live in truth, when you give from freedom, not from lack, abundance flows back to you in ways you never imagined. Love will come, but it won't taste like waiting or self-sacrifice. You no longer love to find your other half, because you've become whole, not needing rescue, not needing to prove anything. Love for you now is companionship between two souls who have learned to love themselves first, and success. It will rise not as a spotlight, but as a quiet resonance, not from shouting louder or fighting to be seen, but from how you live with presence, with depth, with integrity. Everything you touch begins to ripple, not because of skill, but because your frequency has shifted. You become an inspiration without giving speeches, just by being yourself, just by continuing to live a life rooted in soul, in meaning, in light. And in doing so, you awaken something in others. You no longer live to be validated. You no longer live to be something in someone's eyes. You live to feel, to be fully here, to help bring beauty back to life. And the most beautiful part, you won't look back, not out of pride, but because your soul has remembered who you are. And once you've stepped beyond the final layer of old beliefs, you no longer fit inside the things that once held you. You'll see your greatest achievement is not what you gained, it's who you became, to be able to hold those things without losing your heart. You didn't survive these trials just to go back to who you were. You survived to become deeper, truer, freer, and now the journey you once thought was a climb reveals itself as the path back home to you. Take a deep breath, not to close the chapter, but to open it, because every true rebirth never ends at a finish line. It's a movement, a quiet invitation from the universe saying, live this time, really live. And if there's just one sentence for you to carry with you after this long journey, just one, let it be this: Estoy listo, I am ready. Not ready to fight, not to prove anything, but ready to live in alignment with your soul. You see, that phrase isn't just a declaration, it's a vibrational code, a signal sent out, so the universe can begin rearranging everything, every encounter, every opportunity, every moment that once felt random, but now arrives right on time as soon as you whisper, I'm ready. And now, we've reached the end of the 2025 journey for Aries, a journey that never promised ease but always promised meaning. If you've stayed with me this far, then I believe you're no longer the same person you were. Something has been awakened, a new layer of light has opened up, and you know you're not alone on this path anymore. Thank you, Aries, for having the courage to live and to keep living, not just for yourself, but for the ones who are quietly inspired by your presence. You don't need to look back to know that's true, because real light never needs to turn around. I've been your storyteller today, and we will meet again in the next layer of awakening, there, where truth always finds the brave heart. Until then, live with your whole heart, because you are worthy and you are ready. Goodbye, Aries. We'll meet again somewhere the light touches the soul. The radio fades out, but the journey goes on.